Hey guys, hey, did you know that just because a home looks new and looks perfect, that doesn't mean that it is? What if I told you that even a brand new home has hidden defects? Yeah, and right here in the Austin area, we're no different than the rest of the country. We see things from bad wiring, cracked foundations, or even some serious shortcuts that are taken behind the walls. Those are things that could cost thousands of dollars or worse, put you and your family at risk. Now, it really doesn't matter whether you're buying, selling, or you already are living in your home. Today, I am going to be sitting down with a professional home inspector, Alex, with Greenworks Inspections, and we are going to uncover the truth and what's hidden behind some of these surfaces. Now, I believe you'll be shocked by what some people miss and how you can protect you, your investment, and before it's too late. So stay tuned and let's dive right in. All right, let's go. Hey guys, what is going on? This is Hector, your Austin metro area realtor, here bringing you an exclusive interview with my guy Alex from Greenworks Inspections, and we're going to talk about all things inspection here in the Austin metro area. So if you're first time to my channel, welcome. If you have been here before, welcome back. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you get all the things and all the videos that we put out this content with all things real estate. Again, we're going to dive into this series about inspections and home inspections, and my guy Alex is going to help us understand why it's important, not just for first-time home buyers, seasoned homeowners, but even brand new homes, right? Because even brand new homes have their issues. Absolutely. Without further ado, we're going to get started, have a nice series of questions, and help you guys understand why it's important to have a guy like Alex come out here and check out your home, all right? Awesome. Alex, yep. I appreciate you. Thanks for coming out.
Absolutely.
Wonderful experience to help these buyers, first-time homeowners, and all these people that are just in this market looking for their next home. All right. So talk to me about what does a home inspector do, and why is it important for anyone to have a home inspection before they pre-list, before they buy, or even when they already own their home?
Yeah, absolutely. So home inspection, basically we do everything from the roof all the way down the foundation. So we basically it's a functionality test. We want to make sure everything's functioning the way it should, and really for the safety of your home, right? Because home purchase, one of the largest purchases you can buy in your lifeline, right?
Absolutely.
So we want to make sure your peace of mind is there before you go buy a home, or if you have a home, we'll make sure that it's performing the way it should. So we test everything all the way down from the electrical, plumbing, HVAC, your appliances, windows, doors, to make sure everything's functioning the way it should. We do a full report, typically about 60 to 70 pages long with pictures. Absolutely, very thorough, and make sure we put locations to make sure it's easy for you guys. But new construction, existing construction, new builds, all those are very important because the reality is we're all human, right? We're all make mistakes, builders, anything like that sort. So we want to make sure that we find things faster or before they become an issue. And so home inspections is a very critical piece of it to make sure that your peace of mind is there and that your investment is protected by us.
Absolutely, right? Because it is a large investment that we all partake in, right? It's probably one of the biggest investment that most of us actually dive into and do in our lives. So awesome, that's fantastic. So definitely a lot of great detail right there. So in your experience, what's the most common issue, like defects or things that you find, especially here in the Austin area with since we have clay, we have all these soil issues around this in this metro region, as well as our storms. Absolutely. We have hailstorms and all kinds of tornadoes and everything else. What are some of the most common issues that you find based upon the area that we live in?
Yeah, some of the common issues we find is obviously, like you said, foundation stuff. The fact that in Texas our soils are very expansive in contraction. So if you've never lived in Texas before, one of the questions we always ask our buyers is, hey, where are you coming from? Because most companies or most buyers, if they're out of state, don't even have sprinkler systems where they're from. Yes. So they don't even understand the importance of sprinkler systems in drainage and gutters. So foundation is a key component of your house, right? Everything's built on the foundation. So as you go through, and most deficiencies we look at are these more structural issues, or are they more settlement issues with the foundation? So typically we look for cracks, if they're horizontal or vertical, straight line. Those are typical stuff that you find in most homes just because of the seasonal contraction. But we look for their major things. So they go diagonal above doorways or windows, or we see doors that swing open or close by themselves. So foundation's a big issue, especially in Central Texas or anywhere in Texas, to make sure that that's performing the way it should. And then the other thing I really want to keen into are HVAC systems, because Gets hot, right?
Hot, yes.
You're in Texas.
Texas heat is brutal.
It's real, right? So we want to make sure the functionality of the HVAC system is working the way it should. So we actually run the HVAC for about hour to 2 hours on the cooling side. We then go with thermal imaging camera, check the registers, make sure it's cooling the way it should. We compare that to the supply and return, make sure we get good differential, which will indicate proper functionality of the HVAC system. So to me, that's really important in Texas.
Awesome. Yeah, and you talked about a lot of details that it's very important and very critical for some of these homeowners in Texas to know, not just in Texas, but people like you mentioned that are maybe relocating to this area who aren't aware, who aren't accustomed to the heat and how much, just how much activity those HVAC systems see, because it's just, they're working extra hard for this crazy Texas weather. But I love that you hit on some great points that I want to kind of just touch on real quick for any home buyer, even some that actually live here versus relocating. What are some of the things in terms of like that you want to pay attention to that you kind of hinted towards when the foundation shifts and settling? What does that mean? I mean, you mentioned sprinkler systems. Yep. Like you talked about someone who's not from here may not be aware of. Why is that an important factor that could help in your foundation?
Oh, that's a great question. What I really equated to, when I really relate to, is a sponge, right? You think of the ground as a sponge. When it gets wet, what does it do? It expands and it moves up, right?
Yes.
So our soils are very, very similar to that. As it rains and there's excessive rain, if it doesn't move away from your house, it may expand and cause some shifting into your home. But on the other side of that, as a sponge gets dry, it shrinks. And so as you do your exterior inspection, you see grading that's cracked and dry around it. What it's allowing to do is it shrinks and may allow some of that movement as well. So gutters, grading and drainage, so you should have a positive slope, which means away from the house. Mm-hmm. The code is actually for the first 10 feet away from the house, you should have a 6-inch drop to make sure that rain goes away from the home. And then gutters are very critical to that too, because as you get excessive rain on the roof, you want to move that rainwater away from the foundation floor. So that's what's really critical about that. As far as home buyers, the key components, like saying doors. Doors are a big indicator, right? Yes, yes. Some people, they renovate the home, they'll fix the cracks, but they'll forget about doors. So right. As a home buyer, go through the doors and make sure they latch, make sure they are lined properly. Sometimes you'll see them at a square, or if you set them open, they may swing open or close by themselves. Yes. Those are indications you want to look for. Floors, you want to look at any cracking to the tile and shifting. You're able to tell, some issues there. And then, like I said, horizontal cracks above doorways, ceilings, step cracking, exterior veneers, yes. is a big one. Those are some indications of a home buyer that you can look at and really get a good idea of.
Awesome. That's fantastic. That's some gold nuggets for you guys. If you guys aren't aware, I learned something right there, just a few tidbits. So, Alex, thank you for diving deeper into that, because those are things that are important. Like I myself as a homeowner pay attention to some of those things, and you definitely gave me some few more pointers to think about. We're talking about foundation, we're talking about HVAC systems. Like, what are some of the problems that I'm sure those are also seen in new construction? Like what's important for a brand, like first-time home buyer, or even just a regular home buyer that's seasoned, maybe moving up, looking for a new build. What are some of the things that new builds that you would be looking for in those types of constructions?
Yeah, 100%. And honestly, most of the new builds we're looking for is just make sure everything's functioning the way it should, but then also the hidden stuff. Our company does about 500 sewer line scopes a month. And in the industry, sewer line scopes are getting more prominent, because what we're starting to find out is that as new builds, especially, we have a lot of contractors, right, that go out and do these new constructions and love them, right? They do a great job, but sometimes they do allow things to go in that drain line, and that could be construction debris. We found Gatorade bottles, and what we do is we like to run a sewer scope down that sewer drain. It is additional cost because it's additional equipment and experience that we have to do that. But since we have the ability to do about 500 a month, we get really good experience and be able to do that. And we're able to find a lot of issues that will save you thousands of dollars later on, because as great of an inspector we can be, we can't see underneath the ground.
Right.
The sewer camera can go down there and verify that for us. We're able to find a lot of issues that help save money in the long run, because there is an issue there. It's usually not a couple $100. It's usually a couple $1,000 to fix it. Yes. So for a low cost, I think ours is less than $300. We can sewer scope it, give you a report with pictures and videos, especially new construction, just because you want to make sure your stuff and your investment is protected. I've actually had a call before where 6 months after somebody moved in, the sewer's backed up to the house, and that's experience that we've gone through that we're like,
Sure.
hey, because of this, we want to protect you and offer this value to you.
Absolutely, that's wonderful that you're actually looking out for the consumer, making sure that their investment is protected. Because yeah, I mean, being a part of some of the construction sites, yeah, it's messy.
Yeah.
There's things that just unintentionally may fall in those lines. So that's wonderful feature that you guys actually provide for homeowners. So I love that. Thank you for that insight. So obviously, let's talk about the opposite side of that scope, and like older age homes, building issues, building codes. Things change over time. Like, what are some of the things that might come up for a buyer? Like, obviously copper wire, aluminum wiring, copper pipes. Where it's not PVC, flex, or any of those things. What are some of those things that an older home can bring as far as challenging when it comes to inspections?
100%. So we want to make sure we look at the electrical system. There are some panels that are no longer, or what are considered obsolete now.
Yes.
Federal Pacific, Zinsco, Sylvania panels. So we want to do a thorough check on the electrical panel, right? Make sure it is definitely not one that's going to cause any hazardous or issues for your home. We want to look at the branch circuits, like you said, aluminum wiring. Before the 70s, they had aluminum wiring going from the panel to the branch circuitry outlets, and we're going to pull a representative amount and verify if it's solid aluminum, because what it does, it expands and it eventually loosens up and it can arc and cause some issues. So we want to make sure that the electrical's going to be safe for you and your family to move into.
You don't want to start a fire.
Yeah, that's right. We don't want to be responsible for that fire, right?
That's right.
The other part, like I said, plumbing. Plumbing is a big thing. As things have evolved, now we use a lot of PEX piping. Before that, supply or galvanized or different type of piping. So we want to verify that, because that can erode from the inside and cause some issues for water quality. But even your sewer line also, back before the 70s, a lot of cast iron. And that's a metal product that eventually has a life expectancy about 50 years, and then does rust and cause issues. Again, could cost thousands of dollars to fix it. So those are some issues. And then lead-based paint, asbestos, those are things that we offer at Greenworks that we could do additional testing for, find out if there's any concerns there. But not only just concerns, but also educate the consumer on what it takes, because people hear that and it's a red flag and they get freaked out. But the reality is everything can be fixed as long as they know more about it, and our job is to educate and really inform them on it.
Absolutely, love that. Yeah, there's so many different variables to piping, electrical, that's people just aren't aware of, because hey, it's behind the walls. Right. Like, what do we know about all that stuff? So I love that. Thank you for that insight. That definitely helps on that regard. Okay, so my next question is kind of geared towards myself and the people that we serve as realtors, as typical seller and even a buyer. Like, what are, in specific for a seller, what are some of the things that would benefit them from doing like a pre-listing inspection before they put it on the market, so that they are aware of some unknowns before they go ahead and go on the market and then get caught off by surprise by a potential buyer coming in to buy their home? That's
exactly it. Hector, you hit it on the nail. I've talked to multiple realtors, and they always wonder why, as a listing agent or a seller, why do I have to get an inspection? And reality is you don't have to, but there's a benefit for it, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
As you know, when you list a house, there may be things that, as a normal homeowner, we live in a home, we get biased based on the home because we have emotional ties to it, where as a non-biased or third-party inspector come in, and really just tell you how everything is performing or not. And it may bring some things to light to tell you that, hey, although this may be working the way it is now, for example, like let's say a water heater, right? Water heater could be 12 years old and working perfectly fine. But as a professional, we know that water heaters last about 10, 12 years based on maintenance. And if you're at the end of life expectancy, we could say, hey, maybe there's something's going to come up in the inspection report, because a new buyer may want to say, hey, that may bust and cause some water damage, so it might be something you want to check out. But as an inspector, we could tell you that and say, hey, here's the education part of it. And maybe that's something you fixed before, like save thousands of dollars and have that done and make sure your sale goes a little bit more smoothly. So we're able to find stuff like that. Roof issues, you talked about hail earlier.
Absolutely, yes.
Nobody wants to jump on the roof, right?
Nobody does. That's scary up there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's high.
We will. we have that experience. We do training how to get on the roof safely and how to walk them. We wear Cougar paws, which are boots designed to really adhere to the asphalt shingles. We jump up there and verify there's any damage to the roof vents, the passive vents, is there any penetrations that could allow water to come in, things of that sort that you really want to make sure you're protected, because it could be simple of, hey, you can submit a claim to your insurance, get a new roof, and then the seller or the buyer is not worried about that, and now that sales transaction goes either smoother because that's a pretty difficult transaction to go through, right? So,
Absolutely. Yeah. And thank you for mentioning that because yeah, we see our sellers, who are trying to sell their homes, especially now where there's so many options with our inventory being so high. It's one of the key things that I think would definitely help some of these sellers get ahead of the game and hey, I already took care of it for you. Things are ready to go. Let's have a quick, fast transaction and get this home sold. So thank you for that. That's great. Yeah.
And it could be something simple as caulking, right? Caulking is home maintenance 101. As I do all my inspections, I always tell everybody, hey, YouTube is your best friend.
Yes.
Go get a caulk gun. Go learn how to caulk because that's going to be something that's maintenance and could be something as simple as that. Make sure you reduce the amount of things that come back on your inspection report. And it could be, hey, just go get your HVAC service because it's performing, but it could be a little bit more optimal. And then they can provide receipts. So when there's a home buyer, they have a little bit more peace of mind saying, yeah, this house is, I'm comfortable with it,
Yes. Awesome. I love that. All right. So big red flags, obviously those, the inspection you mentioned, sometimes they're 50, 60 pages of report, which is pretty substantial amount. What are some of the things that you guys as an inspector may uncover that to a seller or a home buyer or even just a typical homeowner may see is like a big red flag, but it's really not that big of an issue. It's just a common fix and could be super, super simple to remedy.
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, everything boils down to the top 5 issues, right? Is the main structural and mechanical components, stuff that's going to cost thousands of dollars. So really what I call as red flag or something to really consider is roof, foundation, HVAC, electrical, and plumbing, right? If there's any safety hazards, whether that's a flue for a water heater that's disconnected now, allowing carbon monoxide into your attic or your garage, that's something that I'd say, hey, it could definitely be fixed, but you want to have that because it's a safety concern for you and your family, right? Or something that could allow water penetration or moisture build up and start having some mold build up from that. Any water leaks. So mold basically is a combination of humidity and a water source. So preventing that and correcting those issues before they become big are things that I would say. Now, with all that being said, there are definitely some red flags, but everything can be fixed. That's to everybody. It depends on their skill level and their budget. But anything in the house can be fixed from foundation to roof to anything. So a good thing is that there are red flags as far as what to know about, but not necessarily red flags not to buy the house.
Awesome. Yeah, sounds great. Yeah, and I'm glad you pointed that out right there at the end. It's not a red flag not to buy the house, just some things to take into consideration.
Exactly.
And that kind of goes into my next question, like some home tips for homeowners and not necessarily selling or buying, but just you as a homeowner, like you mentioned earlier, like, normal wear and tear. We live in our homes every single day. They get used constantly. The HVAC system is running nonstop in summertime because it's Texas here. So are there any routine tips and things that homeowners can actually do and pay attention to ensure the livability of those major component systems?
Absolutely, absolutely. So in our reports, we always recommend HVAC. Get that service twice a year. One in summer for the cooling and then one in winter for the heating. And as simple as HVAC company come out and servicing it, cleaning off the coils and the exterior, make sure you don't have excessive brush or bushes around the condensing unit outside so it breathes properly. Changing your filter. You'll be surprised how much
That's important.
changing your filter is a key component to an HVAC company, right? And then just monitoring that, there's any water in the safety pan or there's anything dripping, have an HVAC guy come in. So we always say get HVAC service twice a year. It is also recommended to have your water heater drained once a year, and that's to make sure all the gunk and sediment from the bottom is released and doesn't cause any issues and prolongs the life of the water heater.
Absolutely.
And then always get an inspection. Even if you're not selling or buying a house, you just want to know, hey, what do I need to be careful with, whether it's roof or whatever it is. Get an inspection and we'll check it all out for you, make sure that you're okay.
Awesome, love that. Yeah, you talked about the water heater. That's one thing that I make sure that I do every year because I've known some water heaters to build up some calcium and sediment on the bottom and it just gets clogged up and it's just, okay, I guess we need a new water heater because this one is dead in the water.
Yeah, exactly. No pun intended.
No pun intended. No pun intended. So, okay, awesome, great. I appreciate all that insight. That's fantastic information for for everyone to know.
For sure.
What about what would home buyers and home sellers look for when they're trying to find a home inspector? Like what are some of the things that maybe they should ask and inquire about so they can make a smart decision and based upon the home inspector that they want to go with?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. Honestly, biggest thing I'll say is your reputation, right? Go to Google, do your research, find out how many 5-star reviews they have online, because that's a big indicator of how well they do, right? The other thing is everybody has access to the TREC website, which is the Texas Real Estate Commission. You can also search the inspector through the TREC website and see how long they've been licensed and if they had any disciplinary actions. Hate to be that way, but unfortunately,
that's important. That's important. That's important. We're all professionals. We're all licensed, so it's important to do that.
And just do your due diligence. Obviously, not every inspection company is created equally. Verify what they offer with us. We do a lot of great packages that include a repair pricer, so you actually get a repair pricing of the repairs that need to be done on the website, on the report. We also offer, for us, engineering, environmental, which means that if there's a question about the foundation, right? Most inspection companies will have to refer you to an engineer and take another 3 days to have an engineer come out. We can do a foundation engineering letter on site, take the elevations, and then have an engineer get back to you within 24 hours and 48 hours. So if you're in a short option period, it's the ease of what we can do for you and offer you. Same thing environmental. We have environmental techs and consultants on staff. So if we see something that could be potential mold, we can actually swab it and get it sampled, analyzed, back to you within 24 48 hours. Again, in a short option period, that's always helpful.
That's always good. Yep.
And then we do a big, so just look at what they offer and what their reputation is. I think is really, really key.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's important for everyone to do their due diligence in any profession, in any professional that they're hiring that's going to come into their home, do some service on some of their systems. That's important. So I appreciate you going over those things that they are important for us to, as homeowners, to actually consider and take into account and do. The home inspections obviously covers the home, right? There's other mitigating factors that affect a home. Such as the elements outside, bugs, and so does a typical home inspection cover some of those things like termites or assessing for any damages that or code compliance and some of those things that are just not typical that a typical homeowner or home seller may not be aware of?
Yeah, that's a good question. Most inspectors do eventually get some sort of pest license. That is a very critical piece of it. We actually do a free complimentary pest report every single one of our inspections. So we look not only for termites, but rodents, right? Rodents could be a big nuisance, right? Whether that's mice or, you're in the hill country, right? So all kinds of different things, right? So we do a full inspection. We look in your attic, look for any tunnels in there, and we look for any droppings, look for any entry points that you could tell from the exterior. But yes, I would say definitely make sure that your inspector has some sort of pest report on there. Look for wood destroying insects, termites, carpenter ants, carpenter bees, things of that sort. But all those can play a huge factor and can be a big monetary value if it's not caught correctly. So I would say all those are very important as well, and definitely a big factor into it.
Awesome, yeah, definitely. Because this Texas, you mentioned mice. They like to come into your garage to get cool because they're hot too.
Yeah.
So
and the other thing, no, right? It's pest control for a reason. Right. It's not pest elimination because we do live in Texas, and no matter if you're new construction, existing construction, like there's going to be times in the where it gets hot or cold in the exterior and then it drives, wildlife into different areas. Same thing with termites. They have swarming seasons. So what we have in Texas for the main part are subterranean termites. And they like to swarm, and especially in March, April, and then in the fall season too. So they have good signs of indications of where they're at. And so we're able to really identify that and call that out in the report.
That's fantastic. And if you didn't hear that, you pay attention because that's important because you don't want your house to be subjected to any termites or anything like that. Definitely, it doesn't matter where you live, but definitely here in Texas. So I had just one more question. So in terms of the inspection and, once this buyer or the seller or the homeowner gets that report, what's the next thing for them to be able to do with that information? Like how can that prove useful for them? How can they use it for, moving forward?
Yeah, honestly, I think that's where realtors play a big factor into it too, right? As a realtor, your job is to help champion that deal a little bit easier. So I always tell everybody, look at the report, and then not only that, but we do a very specific walkthrough process with our buyers, right? Whether they're on site or we're available for a phone call or video call afterwards, we want to make sure that we don't just supply them a list of 80 deficiencies and say, hey, good luck, right? We actually want to be there for them. So we're happy to jump on a call, be there, go over it. And usually our walkthrough process is about 30 minutes to 45 minutes long because we want to make sure we not only tell them about the things, but also educate them on possible solutions or implications of it. So I think that's really important, is really looking through your inspection report and then really identifying based on your need what is important to you, because my skill level may be different than your skill level, and our skill level may be different from somebody else's skill level.
Yes.
So what we may deem as necessary or important may be something different for somebody else. So really going through that report and finding out what's important to you, and then working with a real estate agent as yourself and really finding out, here's what I would like to have considered or done or checked out before we buy the house.
Yes.
And then also our job doesn't stop there as inspectors, especially at Greenworks. We say if you ever have any issues going forward, we're available for you 6 months, 6 years down the road. If you have any questions, we're there to help answer questions, because we know reality is that it can be very daunting and difficult buying a house. And you may have some simple questions we're here to help you out with. So especially new construction, we say, hey, if your builder has any questions, we're available to your builder to answer the questions, because there may be some discrepancies on what TREC standards are and local building code is. And so sometimes it's an easy conversation. It's, hey, this is what we look for based on our TREC standards. However, this local building code may say it's 6 inches different than we called it out. So we are able to educate them to say, we're here for you, not just say, here's a report, but here's your communication after that.
Awesome. And I love that. It's not just, here's your report, bye,
Yeah.
see you later, good luck.
Yeah.
You guys are there from the moment of to the well thereafter. So that's
Absolutely.
fantastic. That gives security to some homeowners and some home buyers or sellers, because, hey, at least you understand that I selected Greenworks Inspection. They're going to do a great job. Be diligent and be there for you well thereafter if you need them for return service or just some follow-up questions that you may have. Alex, man, thank you so much. This was very educational. This is very informative. I hope you guys really enjoyed this, because my guy Alex took some time out, come out, hang out with me, and I really appreciated him. And one thing that we did mention is we mentioned TREC. So for you, if you don't know, TREC is just Texas Real Estate Commission. It's the licensing agency here in Texas. So we just call it TREC for short, versus saying that long name. But another way, just kind of want to throw that out there. Thanks again, guys, for watching. If you like this kind of video, love this content, let me know in the comments. Let me know so I can bring Alex back so we can go deeper into some of these things, because he gave a lot of great information, and some of you guys may want some more, and I would appreciate it. So let us know. Thank my guy Alex here. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Hector, man. I really appreciate it. If you need a realtor, go check out Hector, man. He's awesome. So
pay attention to this guy. He knows what he's talking about. Thanks, guys. Take care. Appreciate you.